Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Gagnon Atelier. I'm your old pal, Tim Gagnon, and this is the Modern Masters Podcast. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. This is our last week at Gulf Coast State College, and we are having a great time at the Education Encore program here. And we just want to welcome you to the show, those of you that are watching us online. And we have got a really fabulous show for you today. This, again, is our last one here, but we've obviously got a zillion shows to come. But today we've got a fabulous portrait artist from Atlanta. I'm very, very excited to have her on the show. But before we do that, if you could do me a favor, and if you can like and share this page on your Facebook page. If you're watching us on Facebook, I'm going to do that right now. As you can see, I've got my cell phone out right here, and I am going to go right here, and I'm going to hit the fancy schmancy share button. And boom, I've just shared it to my page. There I am. Look, check me out there. There's me and me. So if you could share that page and share this video, I would very much greatly appreciate that. And if you could like the Gagnon Atelier Facebook, or you can go over to our YouTube channel and check us out there. It's called, just search Gagnon Atelier on YouTube, and boom, we'll come up. And if you can hit the subscribe button and the bell notification, we would greatly appreciate that. And so let's go ahead and start the show by bringing on our wonderful, wonderful guest. You guys are really, really going to love to meet Holly Henson. Let's bring her on right now. There she is, everybody. Dun, dun, dun.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Tim.
Yes, thanks for being on the show. We're excited. I got to tell you, I am super pumped to have you on. I've been telling the people in the classroom here and also online about you, and I've been wanting to have you on for a while. So this is really exciting.
Well,
for
I
me
love
anyway.
So it's a treat for me to be on here.
Oh, well, excellent, excellent. Now you are in Atlanta, Georgia, correct?
Yes, I am.
What exactly? Because Atlanta, Atlanta's like, there's a lot of places. Like my brother, he lives in Woodstock area.
Okay. I have some family that lives in Woodstock, but that's pretty far away from me.
Okay. What part of Atlanta are you in?
I live in the center of Atlanta, pretty much, in Midtown.
Oh, so you're like Atlanta.
Yes. So if you have been here to the High Museum, by chance, I live within walking distance of the museum.
Oh, wow.
So that's
so you pretty much live at the museum is what you're saying?
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. My wife wouldn't be able to keep me out of a museum if I lived across the street. That'd be pretty cool.
I know. It's a good area.
Nice.
Area of Atlanta.
That is great. Now, how long have you lived in Atlanta?
I have lived here most of my adult life. So I moved here in '93, and I've pretty much been here since then, except for there was, a couple of years, my family, we lived in London, and we had a little excursion to Amsterdam for a little while. But each time we came back here. So
okay. Now, were you military or?
No, my husband worked for a company that did some international clients, and it was his work that took us over there.
Oh, okay, great. Well, fantastic. That's really, really, really neat. So you've been in Atlanta now for several years, and well, longer than that, most of your adult life. So, yeah. So that's not just a few years, but now, so have you been an artist that whole time, professionally? Or is it a new, like, how long have you been doing art full time? Let's start with that question.
Okay, so I started doing art full time, I think I was around 30 years old. So probably, well, no, maybe a little bit earlier than that. So I think I've been doing it about 20 years or so.
Okay.
And when I first moved to Atlanta, I wasn't working as an artist. I was working in technology. My background from university is in math. That was my major in school.
Whoa.
And I came.
An artist that knows math? This is
I
like a rare mythical creature.
I love math and I love science. And I had kind of some aptitude for math growing up. And so I went to school and I studied it and came out and got an IT job programming computers for a company that's called Accenture. And it's a great company. I worked there for 8 years. And during that time, though, it's a pretty high stress job. Then it required a lot of intense, long hour work. And I'd known for years that I wanted to learn how to paint. So I started as a hobbyist, and it was really like an outlet for me from, being in this, in the world of programming mobile technology. And it was something, I could go and do. And it started out kind of, small. And then your obsession can start to grow with it. And I got to where I felt this need to carve out more and more time to make art. At some point, I stopped working 80 hours a week doing IT and started drawing, trying to draw a few lines in the sand that I needed, wanted to be painting. And I had a really supportive group of people that I worked with. So at some point they knew that I wanted to become a professional artist. I moved into a part-time position with my company for a little while, and that helped me make the transition because it's a pretty scary move going from a salary job to self-employment as an artist. And they really worked with me. And during that time, I was starting to take on some commissions. I had been painting for a number of years at that point. And I was starting to take on some commissions, and that, I had a support network that helped me transition into becoming a professional artist full time.
That's a huge thing to say, because if you don't, a lot of artists, they want, there's so many hobbyist artists out there that they want to become a full-time artist. They want to work professionally, their career as an artist, but they don't know how, and they don't understand that you need a plan, and you have to work that plan. You have to write it down. You have to really lay the groundwork for success. And the artist that can do that, it's the starving artist is both a myth and a reality, in that the artists that are the ones that are starving, oftentimes I found when mentoring and when talking with artists that are in that position, it's because they don't have a plan. And so they're sitting there and they're frustrated because they can't make enough money as an artist to thrive and to survive. And it's because they don't have a plan, and they haven't implemented anything, and they haven't taken the steps necessary to get them there successfully. And the other side of that is, let's face it, and I'm sure you know a few, there's this weird thing in the art world that if you're working a day job, you're not a real artist. Oh. Have you ever run into people like that, where it's like they don't, what's that?
That's quite a pernicious myth. I mean, it's there are lots of ways to support yourself when you're as an artist, because self-employment is scary and it's risky.
It is very risky.
It's good to come to terms with that and to assess what is your risk tolerance, and how do you mitigate that. So you kind of need to know yourself, and that can depending on where you are in your life. There's when I made the jump, I didn't have any children. I was married, but I didn't have any children. So I think, if I had waited a few more years, it might have been scarier, because I had, there's just different stages of your life and different personalities. But I think having a day job while you transition or throughout, having a day job can can help you focus your art on exactly where you focus it, because you're not laying awake at night worrying about who's going to buy it.
Right.
So I think that's a wonderful way to be a professional artist.
Right. Right. And you have to get there. You know, you have to build up your income as an artist to the point where you can support yourself and it be sustainable. You know, do you have enough clientele, or do you have a business plan that can take you 10 years later still making a living at this? And so again, a lot of artists don't make a business plan. They don't, like, if you're going to go open a restaurant, you have to have a business plan. You have to have exactly it all laid out, every little nook and cranny, what could eventually happen. Everything has to be laid out. A lot of artists just don't do that in their art career, and they run into problems because they can't get from here to here in that. And they get upset because they don't, you know, they bristle in a day job. They don't like working for somebody. They all have these problems because they're dreaming of over here, and they hate working over here, but they don't do the steps to get them from A to B. And that's where I think the starving artist comes in, because there are some that they just dive right into being a full-time artist, but they haven't done the work to get there. So they're starving, you know, and they're not successful. And then they get even more frustrated because they see other artists that are thriving and they can't figure out what to do. So I really appreciate you sharing, you know, that you went part-time at your job, and that you use that to really work your plan to get you where you needed to be. Now, how long did that take? How many years? Somebody wants to come in. Can you guys check that door? We got someone trying to get into the classroom. So, but how long did it take you when you said, I want to be an artist, I'm going to do this, and I want to go from here to there? Was it a year, 2 years, 6 months?
I think it was a few years. It might have been 2 years. And it also involved saving some money. So I had a certain, you know, amount that I said, and I had a partner. I was married, you know, I mean, I'm still married to him, and he has been like this amazing rock. And, you know, he has been this really great support all along the way. And so we kind of together worked on it, and we had a certain goal of, you know, what to save. And it was a few years that, you know, that it took me to make that transition.
Mm-hmm. And you say you saved a bunch of money. So did you save that money for, like, this is what I need to cover my bills for, say, 6 months or a year, as a buffer, or like, what was that money set aside to do? Was there a plan for it?
It was more like an emergency type of money. Like, you know, if things don't go well, then there's money saved here. And, you know, if plan A and plan B don't work out, and we need to form a plan C, or, you know, or something to that effect.
See, that is
something to fall back on.
Yeah, no, that's just pure wisdom. That is absolute pure wisdom. I think it's a great bit of advice. Really great bit of advice. So,
well, it's good if you can do it, but I also would say that it's really good if you have a support network. And I was really lucky because my family's really supportive. My parents and my husband has supportive friends. And not everybody has, you know, support in their family. So, you know, you might have to build that, build a network of people that can help you. I mean, everyone makes mistakes, and believe me, I've made my share of mistakes. So if you have some people that can kind of help guide you, and a mentor to look up to, find a mentor. I have someone here in Atlanta that's helped direct me at times when I felt like I was going off course or needed someone that was a few steps ahead of me, to give me some advice on how to market work, sell work, and stay on track.
That is another, boy, we're getting some gold here, folks. You know, the concept of an art mentor in whatever your profession is. And you know what? You're never too old to have a mentor. You know, I mean, that's something that if you want to, you know, you want to get where you need to go, you need somebody that's already been there. You need a guy. It's like my cousin Keith. He's a moose hunting guide. He has go to shootamoose.com, people. I just plugged my cousin Keith. Shootamoose.com if you want to shoot a moose. But he's a moose hunting guide. If you want to go shoot a moose and you go to New Hampshire, you ain't going to find no moose. Yeah, it's just good luck to you, but you need a guide because he knows the area. And trust me, my cousin Keith, he knows where every moose is, and he'll get you a moose. You're going to go home with a moose. It's going to happen. You need a guide because you don't know where you're going, or you need that advice. You need an expert. And in an art career, it's one of my mottos as an artist in my life is, if I'm the best artist in the room, I'm in the wrong room. I want to be in the room where I'm the least skilled person there, because that's how I'm going to learn. And that is a driving force in my life. And, it's something you got to have, but you need a mentor in all stages of your career to be like, try this or try that, or why don't you do this, or just that somebody to help steer you. So that's really good. How long have you had someone like that in your life?
Well, I've had different. It hasn't always been the same person. I've had different people to help mentor me along the way, and but I've had someone throughout. For the most part. The woman that I really look up to now and go to for advice, we've been close for about 4 years, I think. And I went to her and asked her for some help during a time of transition more recently, where I felt like I just needed some advice. And I thought I was feeling too, I needed to narrow my focus. Was what it was. And I needed to narrow my focus, and I needed some help with ideas for marketing and how to get the word out. And she's highly disciplined, which I really admire, and very business-minded, and an amazing artist. So, I would say for the last 3 or 4 years, I've had her to go to and ask for assistance. And everybody needs assistance, and in all different areas. You need emotional support, you need creative support, and sometimes it might be different people that provide that to you. But knowing to ask for help is, and having someone to go to, finding someone to go to is really important, I think.
Yeah, I do. I think that's key. And I noticed when you were talking about your different mentors, one of them was business, one of them was, this, and, you have to have that. It's not always an artist having another artist. Sometimes you need someone that knows how to do, web design, or how to do the technical stuff, or how to get into a gallery, or, whatever it is that you're trying to do. You need some of my biggest business mentors. They weren't artists at all. One of them was a carpet cleaner business. One of them was a window manufacturer. But they knew business so well, and one of the best advice I got was from a friend of mine that was it was a window manufacturer, and he told me, never have one client be more than 20% of your business, because then they own you.
Interesting.
And so what he was talking about was diversifying. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of artists, because of the COVID pandemic and everything else, there's a lot of artists that they were just in galleries, and they didn't have a strong online presence or online sales, or they didn't have things like that. And COVID has put them in serious financial jeopardy, because nobody's going to art galleries.
Yeah.
And so they're hurting because they didn't diversify their business. So 99% of their business was galleries. When the galleries went away, their business went away. And so they're in trouble. Whereas artists that were 100% online, right now they're doing great. But if Etsy ever goes the way of MySpace, they'll be in trouble. Mm-hmm. So you have to have multiple streams of income and different, diversify how you're making money is how you can survive any eventuality. So if any one of my income sources were to dry up and go the way of my space, I'll be okay because of that, that type of a thing. And so that's a plan that I'm working right now personally, is trying to diversify, trying to bring the guy that's up here down to here, and these ones that are down. I'm trying to do this with my income streams to get them all to be like this. So if any one goes away, it doesn't bother me. So
yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah, good. See, a nugget from me too. See, yeah,
I know,
we got nuggets from you, now we get nuggets from me. But a bing, bada boom, it's a good day. So, but real quick, because you had said that that you got your career start in the technology sector. Well, our sponsor for this show is a technology company, and so I'm going to play a commercial from them because they've got a great offer for our listeners here. So let's do that now.
Hey guys, this is Judah with Edge Digital Agency. We want to offer something special to the friends and family of Gagnon Atelier, our digital diagnostic. In this free consultation, we equip you with the tools and strategies you need to maximize your online impact. For example, your website needs to wow customers and serve them well, but it also needs to rank high on search engines like Google, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Visit us today at edgedigital.agency, and when you reach out, make sure to mention that you saw us on one of Tim's videos. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to hearing from you.
And we are back. Bing, bada boom. It's a good show so far. Well, Holly, we met a few years ago at the Portrait Society of America in Atlanta, where you live. And we were actually we're both walking into the big exhibit of all of the artists that were that had won and were in the show. And so we kind of were looking at the same pieces of art and drawn to the same piece of art, and we just started talking, and that's how we met. And that's what I love the most about things like a Portrait Society. Are you in any other groups or organizations like Portrait Society, or is that the only one that you're in?
We have a portrait society in Atlanta, and it is a really dynamic organization that has a lot of programming. We have exhibits here, and I'm getting an echo.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, no, we have this. So it's a local organization, and I love that because it connects me with people that have similar interests, that do a lot of the same things that, we're all portrait or figurative artists, and I can go to monthly meetings. Well, outside of pandemic world, we can have monthly meetings. We have critiques. There was an online critique last week. Carol Kirby, she's the mentor that I was talking about, but she's an incredible artist. And we have a lot of guest artists that come in. And so that's really what I'm probably most involved in. I also go to the Atlanta Artist Center.
Okay.
And that's where I get my opportunities to paint models from life and do life studies. And that's a great organization too. It's not so much centered around portraiture, but there's plenty of portrait and figurative painting and drawing opportunities there, and exhibit opportunities. So we have some really good local organizations in Atlanta. And the Portrait Society of Atlanta is not just local. We have members from Florida. We have members from Tennessee and Alabama. And I think we have like 11 states that are members of the organization.
Of your organization. Wow, that's great. Now, how have being a part of organizations like that benefited you as an artist, but also in your career?
I learned something from everything I go to. I learn techniques. But we have meetings sometimes that are entirely devoted to business strategies and ideas. Portrait Society of America as well. You can definitely meet people there that are, you can get your portfolio reviewed and get ideas from various artists at very, high levels in their career.
Yes.
Business strategies. So I just think like making connections with people that love the kinds of things that you love to do the kind of work that you love to do, winds up being helpful, making you a better artist, making you a better business person. And, and then it's just like very enriching to be around people that share that same passion.
Yeah, I think there's a passage in the Bible that says, "Iron sharpens iron, so a friend betters a friend."
Yeah,
and that's really when you get around people that share your passions and your desires and your drive, you only just make each other sharper. And and it's always great to have people like that around. So, well, let's talk about some of your artwork now, because I want to just brag on you a little bit because it's so good. Wait till you guys see this. You guys are, this is the time of the show that gets me all pumped up. I get a little excited. So let's show off some of your work. And the freckles on this little boy he just kills me. Just wait till you see this painting right here. Take a look at this and tell us about it. Oh, mon Dieu, look at that. It made me talk French.
Okay, so this is a commission portrait I did of these two really lovely children, and it's Walter and Cece. They live in Nashville, Tennessee, and their dad contacted me about commissioning a portrait of the two of them. Their dad is really he's a really interesting person, and he's traditionalist. He values like his family history. You can walk through his house and everything has meaning. The house has meaning. And I went to this house that they live in, this old beautiful Victorian house that they had preserved, and got to spend time with the dad and with the children when we did their sitting. And this particular room that they're in, they had these bay windows and some antique furniture. Even the hydrangeas in the back were they came out of his garden, and they had come from a plant. I believe it was his grandfather's hydrangea plant.
Oh wow!
They had taken cuttings of and rooted it in their own garden. So. I love when people have objects and all of their surroundings are infused with some kind of special meaning to them. And the children were amazing. This portrait it's a really large portrait. I think it's maybe 50. It's over 50 inches tall, and I think 40 or so inches wide. It's on wood. It's pretty heavy. Now I paint mostly on stretched linen, but I painted this on wood, and I don't know. They're just really interesting and beautiful children. I mean, the girl who is, I think she was 13 at this time. She to me just looks like some ethereal beauty from another time. I felt like I was painting someone who would be painted by the French Academy painters. She just has this really lovely look to her. And then, the boy, Walter, his freckles he was delightful and energetic. It's
fun when you get to paint, these different characters and these children, and like you said, the freckles, on the boy. There are challenges, and there are things that get us excited as artists to paint. And I can see this painting being quite the challenge. How long did it take you to paint this one?
It took more than 2 months, maybe 2.5 months or so, maybe longer.
Especially that size. I mean, that's almost like that. That's life size. I mean, these are kids. So
yeah, I mean, I work pretty much all. I have a family, so I take care of my family, but I work pretty much all day, every day. So when something takes me 2.5 months, I probably worked on it 6 days a week starting from, as soon as I could in the morning and maybe working well into the evening. So
talk to us about juggling your children and painting 6 hours a day, every day. I mean, how do you, are your kids homeschooled? Are they in school? Of course, now all kids are homeschooled. So, well, I want to say that the schools are back open in Georgia, aren't they? My brother's a vice principal up in, I want to say Cannon High School.
I think it depends on the district and the school. I have a ninth grader who is in person in school, and I have a sixth grader who is remote learning right now. So I make lunches during the day now, but I also have my older child. I get her to school every morning and pick her up in the afternoon. Whereas before she went on public transportation to school. The school has a system through public transportation here,
right?
But we don't do that now. So it's
yeah, it can be interesting, and teenagers are just the worst, aren't they? No. We've got five, and the 4 girls there, they've all grown up and moved out, but we got the 14-year-old boy still, and 14, yeah. Oh, man, I'll tell you what. Yeah, he used to be fun. Now he's cool for everything. He's Mr. Joe Cool all the time. It's like, I love the kid, but he's just, he's like too cool to smile now. It's like, come on, man, have some fun. Let's do something crazy. Well, yeah. I could take him on the roller coaster at Six Flags, and we'd be like, "Oh man, wasn't that great? Wasn't that great?" He'd be like, "No, it was all right." It's like,
we were all that kid once, weren't we?
What's that?
We were all that kid once, weren't we?
Oh, it's kind of funny. I wasn't. My brother was. My older brother was that way, and I would get so mad I would like punch him dead in the face all the time. We'd get in fights all the time because he was Mr. Cool all the time, and I'm like, yeah, you're bad.
And you were enthusiastic like you are.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. So, I can say this. I always started the fight, but I never finished it. He was bigger than me. So, all right. Well, let's take a look at another painting. This one. Wait till you see this painting. Oh my goodness gracious. This is a good one. This is a good one. Look at that. Look at that. Look at the dog just looking at that girl. Look at it. The dog is just like, I love you. So tell us about this one.
So this is just the most recent painting that I finished. It's actually still in my possession because it is not dry enough yet to be varnished. But that's coming, and then I'll get to deliver it to the family. This little girl, she's 3 years old. She's as cute as a child can possibly be. I mean, I think of her as like Disney character cute. And she was really excited about her sitting. I actually have been working on portraits of her siblings as well. So she had watched while I did the photo shoot and the sitting for her older sister and her older brother the day before. And she couldn't wait till I came back the next day and it was her turn. And she's, big-eyed. I gave her a toy that I couldn't really get out of her hand for the sitting. So all of my pictures that I have of her, she has this little toy in her hand. And so I worked around that when I did the composition. And then she has this huge Saint Bernard named Scout, and their relationship was so precious and tender. It made me want a Saint Bernard. Right.
That's a lot of drool.
Yeah, I mean, I think the dog probably weighs 3 times what the little girl does. And she was just laying on top of him like, he was her bed. I'm sorry, the dog was a girl. Like she was laying on the dog like Scout was her bed. And they were like all over each other in the sweetest way. But I painted them, standing at the threshold of her house. She's looking out as if she's about to go out of either, I don't know, maybe she's going out or maybe she's welcoming someone in. There could almost be a little bit of a narrative to this particular portrait. And she has on this beautiful party dress. So, so that was probably the most challenging part of the painting to work on, was this dress. And I love a fabric challenge. So if you give me a rug or a dress, something with the pattern, I'm going to be really excited about it. So I got to paint them in this beautiful interior home that they have. And I felt really fortunate to get to make this painting.
It's one of the things that I love about your portraits of the two portraits that we've looked at is, a lot of times when you have portrait artists, they paint a portrait and it's just the person and a very simple background. And you have got them in settings that are elaborate settings. It's like a photo of someone that is in a setting, they're there. And your paintings have so much going on, but they're so well put together and laid out that I think it just gives it such a beauty, and it's just, they're powerful more. They're more powerful in that it's not just the little girl sitting in a chair with no background. This is you've got her in her home with her dog. The piano in the background, the front door, the light coming in, she's in a setting. And like you said, it gives a narrative feel to it. And when we go back to this painting as well, it's the same thing. They're in their home, they're there. And it makes it, I think, more meaningful when we see that. And with this one, you've really, truly captured that relationship with the dog and the girl. When I look at that dog, just looking up at her, it reminds me of my dog Samson, who recently passed. And he had this, for lack of a better word, he worshiped my wife. When Samson died and went to heaven, I know Jesus probably scolded him a little bit because he worshiped my wife. And she would go to work and she'd come home, and this English bulldog would get so excited, his chest muscles and his forehead would vibrate like this. And his teeth would chatter. His teeth would chatter because mommy was home. I would come home, he wouldn't even wake up. But but she would come home and he would just lose his biscuits over, mommy. And this painting of the dog and the little girl, you see that dog just loves that little girl, and you can see it in the painting, and it's really, really sweet. So that
the math background that she does so well with the background.
Yes.
Because she's calculating everything.
Yeah, that's true. She said it's the math background. You're calculating everything. One of them said. So you also do something, but I want to show this next painting, but I do want to talk to you about the trials and tribulations of painting children. And we've got, oh my goodness, we have got so many things here. We've got Owen Lehman says, I love Holly's work.
Thank
Todd
you.
Johnson, she's amazing. Best portrait artist ever. Not just ever.
What was I saying about support group? So
there you go. That's nice. That is really good. So that's pretty good. That's pretty to say ever. Let me tell you what, that's good right there. Yeah, that it's like you're a piece of toast. He's just buttering you up. So let's show one more of your beautiful paintings. Now, this is something that's all very different, and the technique that you use is a lot more. You can really see like the viscosity of the paint in this piece of work compared to your portrait paintings. This is really cool. You paint birds.
Yes.
You like to paint birds. So let's show off one of your bird paintings. Look at that. Oh, mon Dieu. I'll tell you what, that's just gorgeous right there. Now, what was it about birds that drew you into painting them, other than they're just so pretty?
They are so pretty. I love birds. I have this real scientific, I don't know if it's a scientific scientific interest in them. But I think that my initial attraction to them, and humans really, we are attracted to birds. I know a few people that are scared of birds.
Well,
but
that's because we know from our recent episode from Emily Willoughby that birds are dinosaurs. So that's why people are afraid of birds.
I watched that episode and I loved that because, so I became really attracted to birds when we moved back from London. And I had been up until that point in this, like most of my life was pretty urban setting. And this was the first time I, as an adult, had lived in a house where I had a yard and I had a garden, and we have a lot of wildlife in our area. Even though we're right in the city, it's like an area with old trees, and there's just a lot here. So I started feeding my birds and I started watching them, and then I got some binoculars and I, got a good camera. And I started going out on, bird walks and getting involved in the Atlanta Audubon Society. And they have a master birder program there that I went through because I like have the kind of personality where when I get interested in something, I can get a little obsessed with it. And I want to understand it I want to get to the bottom of it. I want to understand everything there is to understand about it. So I have been this way with birds for a long time now. And I started painting them a few years after my children were born, and I've probably painted I've painted over 100 bird paintings.
Oh,
this
wow.
one was a commission, and it's an eastern bluebird, which is one of my very favorite birds. I've painted an eastern bluebird on a number of occasions, and I have some that live in my backyard, but a woman who is a dear friend of mine commissioned me to paint 2 birds for her, and they were to be birds of my choice. So this is one of the ones I chose, and I feel like with birds, because there's so much movement to them, and they really are not still for very long at all. It gives me an opportunity to really lay on the paint. There's a lot of palette knife work here, which I do. I use palette knife occasionally with portraits, but it's not a very common tool that I use with portrait painting. But I used it extensively here to really lay on and hopefully to try to create almost like a sculptural quality with the bird, himself and his feathers, and then to create a sense of movement, which is, if you watch birds and you try to identify them, they're always moving. So it can be a little frustrating at times.
Yeah, they can be. They're very, very, they never stop. Their heads especially are always like bing, 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 moving around, and they don't stay still very long. We've got a hawk that likes to sit on our fence in the backyard, and my wife Lisa goes crazy whenever he shows up, but we're convinced he's trying to eat our cat. But because he sits on that fence and he's like waiting for her to come out, and so I'm not sure who's going to try to eat who, but yeah, I think the hawk would win. But birds are just, who doesn't love birds? And they're so beautiful in their colors. And as an artist, painting birds is just fun. There's something about them, and for me, it's the vibrancy of the color. They're such a unique animal. They're beautiful. There is no such thing as an ugly bird. They all are. Even the vulture can be amazing.
Yes.
I've painted vultures a few times, and they're quite an amazing creature to paint. So it's birds are just it's fun. So talk to us. Let's rewind a little bit.
Okay.
And we got about 15 minutes left. Let's talk about when you're painting children, when you're doing these commissioned work, a couple things have to happen. Somebody has to contact you for a commission. So how do you get your name out there so that people that are interested in getting a portrait made contact you? Because, you know, a lot of times early in my career, people will come up to you and they'll find out you're a portrait artist, you're a figurative artist. And they run and they go like, oh, can you paint my kid? And then you go, yeah. And they go, how much to paint my kid? And you tell them and they freak out. They freak out. Now they would pay a photographer double that without batting an eye. But when they say a portrait and you tell them the price, they like lose their minds. But what's funny is, this is what my experience has been. They'll come back a couple months later and they'll want you to paint their pet. And you'll give them the same price breakdowns and they won't bat an eye. And I've learned that people love their pets more than their children, is what I've learned from that. But so you've got to find commission patrons that are willing to spend the money and are willing to commit to the process. And so how do you get your name out, or where do you put your name out there so that people like that can find you? And then, because I'm sure there's a lot of artists out there that are wondering that. And then, so how do you get on the marketing side? How do you get your name out there in places where the right patrons are contacting you? So that's the first question. And then let's talk about what it's like painting children, because they say never work with children and animals, and you do both, especially in that last painting with the little girl and the St. Bernard. That had to have been a challenge. And then let's talk about, like you said, you know, like you've got that painting is still in your house because it's still not dry. How long before the client actually gets the varnished painting? So let's talk about all of that. I know it's a multi-tiered question. Let's start with, how do you find a patron?
Okay, help keep me on track if I
I sure will.
if I go off or forget part of the question. Okay, so there are a few things there in that first question. One is finding people, you know, or helping people find you that might be interested in a portrait. And I've had really good success with social media on this. I would say the vast majority of the people that contact me about a portrait have seen my work on Facebook. So Facebook has been a really great marketing tool for me. And, you know, and when I say marketing, it's almost like soft marketing. You know, I share my work on my personal page, just like I might share pictures of my pets or my children. It's just because it's part of my life. It's a big part of my life. So I have been sharing my work there for years now. And friends see it, and friends of friends see it, and people share it with, you know, families that they know that might be interested in this kind of thing. I mean, I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi, and there, you know, in the South in general, there is this really rich tradition of portraiture, and particularly children's portraiture. So my network of people is, has a lot of people that really value this kind of artwork. And I would say that there is perhaps a myth that you have to have a whole lot of money to buy artwork or to commission a portrait. But I have so many people, and this is really special to me. I have a lot of people that come to me and commission a portrait, and they are, I know that they are saving up their money to do that. People will ask for payment plans sometimes. And I'm always really happy to work with customers on, you know, whatever makes sense for them. Like, people can pay it off in whatever series of increments that works with their family and their budget. So it's, you know, a lot of the people that come to me that commission portraits are people that just really love art, and they're someone that they cherish, and they would really love to have this heirloom portrait that they can pass on, and that their children can pass on to their grandchildren. And they're willing to save and to pay something off, over time. Sometimes people are surprised at how much a portrait costs. And, you know, I'm guilty of that for sure. And with other professions too. Like when you don't know what goes into creating something or doing something, like I don't know what I don't know what it takes to do to be an electrician. So if something breaks down in my house and I have to call an electrician and I get an estimate, there's a good chance I might be like, what? It's going to cost that much? But it's because I don't know what's involved. I don't know what, training the electrician had to go through. I don't know what he or she has to do to, make the repairs. So I think that, often when there's something outside of our scope of what, we do or understand, it's just a natural human reaction to, maybe be a little surprised that it takes so much or that it's expensive, that kind of thing. So I don't fault anyone for realizing that it costs a lot of money and being surprised by that. But I do think that if people, and through social media is another way people can see the process. They can see what goes into it, how long it takes. If you share process photos, if you, share little, snippets, especially if you have a finished product and you can share some progression along the way, people learn that this is a craft that takes a lot of training. It takes a lot of years to, get to a stage where you can create something like this. And it takes a lot of patience and just sitting still for long periods of time and doing the work.
Right.
And, I always think, like, I see these videos and these DVDs that are like the secret to, being a portrait artist, secret to great portrait painting. And I always think one day I'm going to write one of those. And the secret is going to be that you just sit in front of your easel for, 10 to 12 hours a day.
Exactly.
And, I mean,
yeah. You have to be comfortable being alone.
Yeah, but the secret is to stay with it.
Yep.
And
it really is.
So that's kind of like, I would say, one of, for me, the most successful way of getting the word out about what I do and showing people that has been through social media and Facebook particularly, because Facebook is more of a friend connection. Instagram, I use Instagram a lot. I use it to see what other artists do. I use it for inspiration. But Facebook particularly is more of a, friend type of connection.
Right. And people that buy art, in a lot of ways, it's because they want a connection or they have a connection with that artist. And so it's connection, it's relationship that is really that bonding agent for an art commission, I found, and so it's a powerful thing. So that's great advice. So now let's talk real quick about, dealing with children when you're not painting children from life and that St. Bernard from life. So, and you mentioned doing the sittings, so when you say a sitting, they're not sitting and you're painting them, they're sitting and you're photographing them, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
They are. The sitting, when I do a sitting, it depends on the age of the person as to how long it'll take. So if I'm painting teenagers, then, I might spend 3 to 4 hours with them. If, depending on their schedule.
Right.
Some people, they don't maybe have as much time and, other people can give you more time. But last year I painted a series of teenage boys and they each sat with me for a head study and a photo shoot. And I loved that really because I got to know their personalities. Some of them were, more open, more extroverted. I had some that were shy that really opened up in one-on-one situations. And so I think that's kind of like the ideal, situation is to have some photo references to work with back in your studio. It takes me, for Head and Shoulders, it's still going to take me, a few weeks to create the portrait.
Right.
So it's nice to still have the photo reference in my studio, even for a painting of that size.
Right.
When I get into something like a really young child, and a very complex interior setting, maybe with a pet in the cases that we've talked about. I really need, I take a lot of photos, and I like to spend time, I like to do the photos at their house because they're usually more comfortable in their own environment. And, this is their home, and, you have the kids that will show you around, this is where we eat dinner, and this is where this is where I play. And you get the tour from them of their house and their yard, and
right. So it's a good way to
that way. And I try to always remember to bring a toy, because if you have like the child that's not really so sure about you yet, and probably, most kids are that way, wisely.
So you give them a gift and they love you.
They immediately open up to you, and, they're like, okay, mom says this, this artist is okay. And, I'm okay around her.
Right.
Seems nice. But I like to be in their own home. And one thing I do is, because when I have a really complex portrait, I'm usually not working from like one photo. I'm composing it off of a series of different photos and different things. So I try to pick a few different places where we might set up to do this. Instead of just moving, I don't just follow, the children around the house, to wherever they go. We pick a few places and we set up there. That way, if, later I'm looking at a series of photos and I want to, draw from different references to create the overall composition, I have consistent lighting throughout a series of photos. And, there's some consistency there, because if you have light coming from multiple directions or different temperatures of light, then that can just be too much to put together a believable 3D rendering in that scenario.
Right. So it sounds like it can be quite the challenge. Now, so you take your own pictures. So that means obviously you've become quite the photographer as well.
I take my own pictures and I travel to them. That's usually, what I suggest is I come to you wherever you live. I'll come to, if you're in Birmingham or Nashville or Mississippi, I'll come to you and we'll do it in your setting.
Right.
I take my own photos and almost, there are cases where I will use someone else's photo. But mostly, in all circumstances, being ideal, I like to take my own photos, because not only do I have my own photos, and so then I can remember having been there and what it was like and what the light actually, what the setting was, you've been there, and more of the big picture. But also it tells me more about, what you get to learn a little bit of what someone is like on the inside. Right. And, what makes them light up, and, what they care about. And so with a portrait, of course, like number one, you want to create a likeness, like you want an exact likeness. Right. But your hope, that kind of elusive hope, is that you get something beyond that. Right. You capture the person. Reach into like the inner landscape a little bit and pull out what makes them special and unique, not just from like the exterior, but also on the inside. That interior, the spirit of the person. Yeah. That is such a beautiful thing that artists do. We capture a little bit of you. And I think with a portrait, it's a little bit of you, the artist, and a little bit of the person that you're painting. And you get both of their spirits a little bit in that paint. It like somehow gets into the paint and it shines through the paint when people are looking at it. If a portrait is done well, I think that's what comes literally out of the paint, is a little bit of your soul and a little bit of their soul. And I think that's the connection that I think makes it so beautiful. Well, Holly, this has been such a great conversation. I could talk to you for days. We need to have you back on the show. We need to have you back on the show here as soon as possible. But I want to put your website up there one more time so everybody can see it. Holly-Henson.com is your website, or they can find you on Facebook or on Instagram as well.
But this has been a fabulous, fabulous show. I'm just so glad to have gotten to talk with you. And so with that said, I just want to let the audience know, please give her a call, give her contact, check her out online, because you will not want to miss that. I think that if you're looking to get a portrait done, she's the gal to go to. She really is. I think there are certain artists that I find myself drawn to as another artist, and you have always been one of your artwork there's something about it that I connect with and I really enjoy. So I know that there's a lot of people out there that probably feel the same way I do. And if you've never had a portrait done, give Holly a call. So Holly,
thank you so much for having me, Tim.
Oh no, it was my pleasure. And again, go ahead and you stay on the line real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead and close out the program. I'm going to come on and we're going to let you talk to our classroom here at Gulf Coast State College.
Fantastic.
Real great. All right. Well, guys, there's the show. We are going to wrap it up, but thank you for watching. That was Holly Henson, and her website again is holly-henson.com. Really, guys, check out her website. She's got a ton of beautiful artwork on there that you guys will absolutely love looking at. And if you're looking for a commissioned portrait, give her a call. All right, guys. Well, again, if you could do us a favor and you can like and share this broadcast, like and share the Gagnon Atelier Facebook page and our YouTube channel, I would greatly appreciate that. So with that said, guys, as always, just remember, God loves you, and so does your old pal, Tim. We will talk with you next time. Let's see here. How do I do it? There we go. There it is.